serving the Lord is not just about, like being comfortable and if it's, a question of being convenient, or if it's convenient and it fits your scheduling, it's okay, then you serve the Lord. And many times what you do in the ministry or in the field takes away glamour and style and everything. If you work with us in a medical mission, forget style and glamour. Forget all of that. You'll be sweaty. You'll be soaking with sweat. It's so hot. You'll be smelly because everyone is smelly, right? And a lot of times I advise members of the team, don't even, because if you're wearing masks, you know what you're saying to them? You don't see us working wearing masks. So don't expect to be wearing masks, 8 hours of ministry. It's not comfortable. I'm telling you. There's no. You're a person who's like classy. So where do you fit in the ministry? To reach out to those who are fashionable? Maybe to the Hollywood celebrities? That's your ministry? Very limited. So if that is the case, then you won't be able to serve at all. And at the end of your life, at the end of the day, what will you offer to your master? Up in heaven. You come to him, what? Empty-handed, nothing to offer. Would you expect, and can you expect from his lips, his words of commendation, well done, good and faithful servant? What is the opposite of well done? Undone. You got works undone. The opposite of good, bad. The opposite of faithful. What's wrong with you? Driving my grandson, and I pick him up on weekends, right? And drop him off going to school. And sees like bad drivers. And he was like, what is that guy doing? And then he will say, what happened to your brain, man? Isn't it like that? You come face to face with the Lord and what do you have? What happened to your brain? And then the next thing, a servant service is, you can expect, continuous, it's consistent. We cannot be inconsistent. Although this is one of our biggest struggle. I'm telling you, it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to be faithful. I mean, you've heard it said before, only God is faithful. Only God is holy. But why does God command us to be faithful? 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Why does God command us to be holy? Because you know that it's not done in your own power and independent ability to do things. You are faithful not because you are really faithful, but God counted you faithful. Amen? That's what Paul said. I thank my God that He has counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry. That's what Paul said. That's his testimony. And coupled with that verse, he said, I am what I am. And here's his recognition of who he is, or who he was, or who God is to him. I am what I am. By the grace of God. You see, if you're looking at yourself, what do you see? What do you see? Have you been frustrated with yourself? Things that you can't do, things you're struggling with and you can't overcome? That you can't find victory, you're not winning your battles? You have serious doubts maybe, and this time, maybe at this point of your life, you're about to quit? Please don't do that. Because, in other words, or otherwise, you're doing it in your own strength. You cannot serve God in your own strength only. He empowers, He anoints, He equips. That's why He sends. Before the 70 were sent, how long was the training? Hands-on training. First thing Jesus did, teach them. He called them, He taught them, and then He showed them, demonstrated to them miracles, how He dealt with Pharisees, how He dealt with an adulterous woman, how He dealt with the public, the crowd, and the publican, right? The tax collectors. how he dealt with those that are destitute, in need of help. And he showed them consistent service. Mark chapter 1 opens with Jesus right away, right off the bat, serving. No genealogy was recorded there. Nothing about his origin, nothing about his baptism. Chapter 1, Mark right away presented him as a person who was serving. That he introduced himself as a servant, unlike John, who introduced himself as God, or Luke, who introduced himself as man. Matthew, who introduced Jesus as what? As king. But with Mark, he was serving. Early morning, he started praying. All throughout the day, he was healing, casting out demons. Healed the mother of Peter, the mother-in-law of Peter. That's why you know Peter is married. And at the end of the day, the Bible tells us, all the city, people from the villages and different towns, they came seeking for healing and blessing, and those that were demon-possessed, the demons will be cast out from them. I think Jesus did he take a break? You know, I'm always encouraged when we go on a mission, I see people work, a lot of our volunteers, they work, they don't even take a break. ATM is not here, Villamara, but she does that. I'm concerned for her. I said, why don't you take a break? Pastor, there's just a lot of people here. How can I take a break? I've seen doctors do that. Dentists. We have one dentist last July who worked with us in Tacloban. My goodness, from morning all the way until late afternoon, he was just yanking teeth, you know, non-stop. Like 20, what do you call that? Patience. Next, next. By the time it's done with this, all right. Next. Oh my. I see him sweat. I see him work hard. I said, don't you want to take a break? Pastor, with this crowd, how can you take a break? And I asked Pastor Oji, you know, our missionary in Payatas, of the dump site. Oh, Pastor, if you don't know him, well, I said, that's the first time I've seen him. But that's how he works. That's how he works, and he doesn't expect any payment. And that's the third thing that we talk about. There's times when there's no consolation in the ministry, right? A lot of heartaches, a lot of discouragement. People who serve are in the front line of the battles, they're always criticized. People judge them, question the motive. A lot of times you don't get support, right? Encouragement, I mean. You won't receive an email saying, how are you doing? Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did. No. Because we learn that you cannot always expect consolation and appreciation from the people you're serving. And just because you didn't receive a thank you note, and just because you didn't get a plaque of appreciation, then you quit? What kind of mentality is that? You think the servant here in the story expects the master to, you know, like prepare him something like a recognition day? Right? That he'll give him an award? That wasn't expected. As a matter of fact, the servant, after the master told him, fix me a meal, what did he do? Right away, with no complaint. Went to the kitchen, no matter how tired he was, went to the kitchen, did the work. Did he argue? Did he argue? Was he murmuring? Did he go to the kitchen like, fine? You know, kids do that. And maybe not just kids. Somebody's reacting here. You don't do the work grumbling. Paul said to the Philippian believers, do the work without murmuring, without disputing, meaning arguments, without arguing, right? Don't ask the question. Don't even say, how come I'm always the one doing this? You have 100 people in this church and I'm the only one doing this? Well, if that thought starts to seep in, If you start thinking that way, just pause and just pray and then ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Once you ask yourself and question yourself of your motive, most likely you'll be humble if you know at least this story. That we're here not as men pleasers, according to Paul's letter. That we're here not because we have talents and skills to demonstrate, to showcase. That is not the motive. We're not giving for people to know we're generous. Wrong motive. Why do we do what we do in the ministry? That's the question. Why? So people can notice us? Is it even because we want to get rewards in heaven? We know that's a fact. And we know that's a given, right? No doubt about it. God is not unrighteous to forget all your labors of love, and that you have ministered to the saints and continue to minister. Notice what that verse says. And you continue to minister. And no matter what happens to you, there's discouragements along the way. Listen to what Paul said in Acts chapter 20, verse 24. What did it say? Persecutions abound, right? Trials and afflictions, tribulations, all kinds of testings and temptations, and humiliations, criticism, false accusations, wrong judgments by people, a lack of support,